I came home late from work and found myself locked out in the freezing cold. My wife texted me, "Come home early next time," like it was a joke. But as the minutes dragged on and my calls went unanswered, the cold started cutting deeper than just my skin. What happened next was rather unexpected. I will tell you everything. First, let me thank you for your continuous support. If you love stories like this one, support us by subscribing to this channel and comment where you are watching us from. It will be great to hear from you. Now let's jump into the details of what happened. I never imagined my own front door would feel like a stranger to me. It was past midnight, the sky so dark it looked like someone had painted it with cold dust, and the wind was slicing through my coat like it had something personal against me. I stood there on the porch, my breath visible in the air, fumbling for my keys with numb fingers. But when I finally found them and turned the lock, the door wouldn't budge. Locked. Deadbolt from the inside. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe she had fallen asleep with it locked and didn't hear me. So I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, louder. Still nothing. That sinking feeling began to creep up my spine. I checked my phone and texted her. "Me. Hey, I'm outside. Open up." She replied almost instantly. "Her. Come home early next time." At first, I laughed. I really did. I thought she was playing around, being petty because I'd stayed late at work. She always had this thing about time. Dinner at 8, lights out by 11. Her routines were sacred. But locking me out? That was a new level. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Again. 10 times. 20. I don't know how many. Enough that my battery started to warn me it was dying. The temperature dropped lower by the minute. My hands were shaking. My feet were blocks of ice. I tried calling again. This time just letting the phone ring, hoping the sound would wake her up or snap her out of this twisted joke. But nothing. Silence. Just the sound of wind howling through the trees and the occasional screech of a distant car. Then I saw the faint glow from the house next door. The porch light flicked on like a sign from the heavens. I hadn't spoken much to our neighbor, Linda, since we moved in 2 years ago. She was quiet, maybe in her late 30s, always polite in that way where you knew she watched everything but said nothing. I hesitated, pride clawing at me. But pride doesn't warm your bones, and I was starting to lose feeling in my fingers. So I walked over and knocked. She opened the door fast, like she'd been expecting me. "Come in," she said immediately, stepping aside. "But there's a condition." I blinked. "What kind of condition?" "Sit down first. Warm up. Then we talk." Her living room was a world apart from what I had just come from. Warm, dimly lit, smelling faintly of cinnamon and something baking. I sank into the couch, letting the heat melt the ice from my bones. My hands trembled as I held the mug of tea she offered. I didn't ask questions. I just let the silence stretch. Then she walked over and sat next to me, close enough that I felt the heat from her arm. She leaned in, her voice just above a whisper. "She locked you out on purpose, and not just to punish you for being late." I turned my head slowly, eyes narrowing. "What are you talking about?" Linda picked up her phone from the coffee table and tapped the screen a few times before handing it to me. "I didn't want to get involved," she said, voice steady. "But I can't stand watching a good man freeze while someone else is getting comfortable in your bed." The video started to play. It was a night vision camera feed, grainy but clear enough. The angle was from a tree, my tree, in the front yard. My wife appeared in the frame, giggling, looking over her shoulder before opening the door for a man. Tall, athletic, confident. He walked in like he belonged, like he knew the layout of the house already. They disappeared inside. The timestamp? The night I told her I was working late. I froze. Not from the cold this time, but from something deeper. Something that cracked through the center of my chest like a fault line. Linda's voice was calm. "That wasn't the only night. I've got more." I didn't know if I should say anything. But then tonight, when she left you out there like that wasn't a wife being petty. That was someone covering her tracks. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even blink. My house. My bed. My wife. My humiliation. And as the wind outside howled like it knew what I was feeling, I made a promise to myself, right there on Linda's couch. She may have locked me out, but I'm about to shut her whole world down. I didn't sleep that night, not really. I laid there on Linda's couch, still dressed in the same cold, damp clothes, replaying that footage over and over again in my head. Every frame of it scraped at my pride like a dull blade. The way my wife smiled at him, relaxed, giddy, like a teenager sneaking around after curfew. She had never smiled at me like that in years. And the way he moved through our house. That man had been there before. Many times. Linda had gone upstairs after making sure I had extra blankets. But even the warmth of her kindness couldn't thaw the frost building in my chest. I felt rage. But under that, something worse, something hollow. I felt stupid. How long had I been this blind? How many nights had she told me she was tired, or needed space, or was visiting her sister, when in reality, she was making room in our home for another man? And the irony, the bitter, cruel irony, was that I'd been working late to provide, to make our life easier, to set us up for the kids we always said we'd have. She locked me out, and it wasn't a mistake. It was strategy. In the quiet morning hours, Linda came downstairs. She didn't say anything at first, just handed me another cup of tea and sat across from me in her robe, her legs tucked under her like she'd been doing this for years. It was the first time I really looked at her. Tired eyes, soft features, a quiet strength. She wasn't the nosy neighbor. She was the watcher, the one who saw everything. "You okay?" she asked gently. I chuckled, low and bitter. "Do I look okay?" "No. You look like a man who just had his whole reality pulled out from under him." I looked at her. "Why'd you help me? Why not just ignore it like most people would?" She took a sip of her tea, then said, "Because I've been you. I know what it's like to be the fool in love while someone else plays you for one. And I couldn't let her leave you out there in the cold while she gave someone else warmth. That's more than betrayal. That's cruelty." Her words hit me like a slap, and they grounded me. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. Someone else saw it for what it really was. "I need proof," I said. "Everything you have." Linda nodded slowly. "I have weeks of footage. I just never wanted to stir the pot." But she stirred it herself when she left you out there. We spent the next 2 hours combing through videos. Him arriving. Him leaving. Her looking out the window, checking the street like she was hiding something. Always when I was gone. Always after midnight. By the end, I had a USB drive in my pocket and something harder in my chest. Resolve. "You going to confront her?" Linda asked. "Eventually," I said. "But not yet. First, I want her to think she's won. I want her to believe I'm still the fool." Linda smiled slightly. "Then you've got the right mindset. Revenge is best served when it's unexpected." I stood, finally feeling like I had my footing back. My hands were no longer shaking. My heart still hurt, but it beat with purpose now. "Thank you, Linda. I mean it." "Don't thank me yet," she said. "Just promise me, when you burn it all down, don't do it halfway." I nodded. And as I stepped out of her house and back into the morning chill, I wasn't cold anymore. I walked into my house like a man returning from war. I didn't slam the door. I didn't raise my voice. I simply let my keys jingle loudly enough that she'd hear me. I wanted her to hear me. I wanted her to feel safe, to think she'd gotten away with everything. That's how you catch someone who's been lying. They trip up when they let their guard down. She came down the stairs in a robe, hair messy but face too smooth, too composed. She smiled like nothing happened. "Rough night at work?" I nodded. "Yeah, you wouldn't believe." She wrapped her arms around me, her scent now offensive, now foreign. I let her hug me, let her kiss me on the cheek. It took everything not to flinch. "You left me locked out," I said casually, stepping back. She laughed. "I thought you'd be home earlier." I was annoyed, I guess. I fell asleep. She was smooth, but not smooth enough. "Phone died," I said. Ended up sleeping in the car. Her face faltered for half a second. "You should have knocked." I tilted my head. "I did. I even texted you." She blinked. "Oh, I didn't see it. I must have already been asleep." I nodded slowly. "Right. Must have been." And just like that, the stage was set. What she didn't know was that while I showered that morning, I wasn't just washing off the cold. I was erasing everything she thought she knew about me. I was done being predictable, done being her convenience. Over the next few days, I moved like a man reborn. I kissed her goodbye like I meant it. I asked her how her day was. I cooked dinner, made her favorite coffee, laughed at her jokes. I did all the things that would make her think I still believed she was mine. But at night, when she thought I was asleep, I'd wait. I'd listen. Her footsteps, the text notifications, the whispers behind the bathroom door. I heard it all. One night, I left a hidden recorder under the couch. Another night, I installed a camera in the garage, one she'd never find. I started building my own little folder of footage. Just in case. I wasn't going to just destroy her emotionally. I was going to make sure she walked away with nothing she didn't earn. Then came the moment I knew things had shifted. I saw a message flash on her screen as she set it down to grab the laundry. "When can I see you again? Last night was amazing." She smiled at it. Smiled. Right there in front of me, thinking I wasn't paying attention. I snapped a picture of the screen without her even noticing. And right then, I knew. It was only a matter of time. The freeze was thawing. But the storm? The real storm was just beginning. There's a thing that happens when someone lives a double life. They get lazy. They start thinking no one's watching. They stop covering their tracks. And the moment my wife started smiling at texts in plain view and walking around the house humming, I knew she thought I was back under her spell. She was careless, and that was my invitation. I didn't need to blow up her world with a dramatic confrontation. Not yet. I just needed to nudge the first domino. That's where Linda came back in. She invited me over one evening. Said she made too much lasagna, and it'd be a shame to waste it. I knew it was an excuse, but I went anyway. We ate in her small but cozy kitchen, the air thick with unspoken tension. "You've been quiet," she said finally, pushing her glass of wine toward me. "I've been busy," I replied. "Watching. Recording." She leaned in, intrigued. "You ready to make a move?" I nodded. But not the move she's expecting. I want people to know who she is before I ever say a word to her. Linda smirked. "Then I might have something to help with that." She opened her laptop and played a new clip. Not from the hidden tree cam this time. This one was from a party 3 weeks ago, our neighborhood block party. There was my wife, standing beside the man, brushing something off his shoulder. Too close. Too comfortable. "That was right in front of everyone," I said quietly. "Exactly," Linda replied. "People already suspected. They just needed a little push." The next morning, it started. Little whispers. Not from me, but from neighbors, co-workers, friends. Linda had anonymously sent clips to a few people. People who talked. People who posted. Suddenly, the illusion was cracking. One of my co-workers came up to me at lunch. "Hey, man, rough times at home." I raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" He showed me a Facebook group post. My wife. The guy. A blurry screenshot, but damning all the same. The caption? "Some women really forget whose house they're in." I chuckled and shook my head. Crazy what people come up with. Inside, I was on fire. Not with rage, but with satisfaction. She wanted to humiliate me by locking me out. Now, her perfect little world was unraveling, and I hadn't even touched her yet. That night, she came home with a different energy. A little colder. A little off. "Did something happen at work today?" she asked while washing dishes. "Not really. Same old." "What?" She hesitated. "Just felt weird. Like people were looking at me funny. Even the mailman seemed different." I shrugged. "Maybe it's in your head." She studied me then. Really studied me. "You're being nice again." "It's weird. You want me to stop being nice?" "No," she said slowly. "It just feels different." It was different. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was her shadow. By the weekend, the cracks became breaks. Her cousin called her out. One of her best friends stopped replying to her texts. Her favorite boutique, where she used to get discounts, suddenly had nothing in stock. I was never loud. I never raised my voice. But I didn't need to. The neighbors knew. And knowing was just the beginning. The night I decided to leave was the warmest of the year. It was almost poetic. After weeks of cold silence, cold revenge, and cold shoulders, I wanted the contrast to sting. I had rented a small loft downtown under a new name. One she didn't know about, couldn't trace. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. My peace. My future. And I was going to celebrate that new beginning. I planned the night carefully. Casual invites. Low-key. Nothing public. I didn't want fireworks. I wanted intimacy. Clarity. So I texted a few close friends, some old coworkers, and of course Linda, the woman who had opened her door when no one else did. We filled the place with laughter, music, and the kind of warmth that doesn't come from a thermostat. People were genuinely happy for me, even if they didn't know the whole story. They just saw a man reclaiming his life. Halfway through the night, Linda pulled me aside. "You sure you're ready for what comes next?" I nodded. I've already lived through the worst of it. This is the rebuild. She smiled. Good. Because she's here. I blinked. What? Downstairs. I saw her through the window. She's standing there like she doesn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to shut the door and lock it just like she had. But another part, the part that had grown over the past month, wanted her to see me. See what real warmth looked like. What community, truth, and self-worth could create. I stepped outside onto the balcony. She was standing across the street, arms crossed, eyes scanning every face inside the lit windows. Our eyes met. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. She just looked confused, dismayed. I didn't move. She took one hesitant step forward, as if that alone might grant her permission. I turned and walked back inside. I didn't know her anything. As the door closed behind me, Linda greeted me with a fresh glass of wine. To new beginnings, she offered. I tapped her glass with mine. To warm nights and locked doors. We toasted, and behind me my phone buzzed. Her. Why are you doing this? I smiled. Me. Come home early next time.